This is USVI News, your Virgin Islands connection.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for USVI News. I'm Emily Matson. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has ordered the Saint Croix Refinery owner to remove dangerous chemicals left in pipes on the facility. The EPA is requiring Hamilton Refining and Transportation to hire experts to safely remove chemicals which are causing corrosion and disrepair in equipment on the Saint Croix property. It comes after the EPA inspected the refinery back in September and found safety concerns, including corrosion of piping and valves, which they say could result in a chemical release or fire, particularly in areas where large quantities of ammonia, liquefied petroleum gas, and amine and hydrogen sulfide are located. The EPA said the order on consent requires full access for the EPA to be on site in order to oversee the work and safety measures until the chemicals are removed or secured. Port Hamilton Refinery and Transportation released a statement saying it is pleased to announce it has reached an agreement with the EPA to address safety concerns raised by the EPA at the refinery. Port Hamilton's leadership team says it's looking forward to working closely with the EPA and has already made strides to fully deliver on the EPA's requests. Certainly good news. Charles Chambers, who is the principal owner of Port Hamilton, said, quote, "We at Port Hamilton agree that the safety and health of our refinery workers, the Saint Croix community, and the local environment are of the utmost importance and will remain at the forefront of our operations. In fact, we quickly initiated action once the EPA informed us of their concerns about chemical substances." Chambers said they had already retained certified third-party experts to complete an inspection at the facility as part of their corporate due diligence to restart the refinery, and immediately engaged them to help the refinery address the mechanical integrity of the EPA's concerns. He said that they have agreed to work closely with the EPA to make sure that these safety measures are put into place, and will work in collaboration with them in the coming weeks. Meantime, Governor Bryan Jr. issued a statement on the cleanup agreement between the EPA and owners of the Saint Croix Refinery, saying it is welcome news that the open communication we have initiated between the EPA and Port Hamilton is creating a pathway to safely restoring this key economic driver in our community. While this announcement only relates to the cleanup on the site, we have made great strides in our resolve to achieve the necessary balance between protecting the health of Saint Croix residents, working in and living near the refinery, and the territory's economic development through finding a pathway to progressive reopening of the refinery. Bryan went on to say his administration remains focused on working with the EPA and Port Hamilton in order to achieve that balance safely. In other news today, according to the Virgin Islands Police Department, seatbelt compliance across the territory takes a downward trend. Data generated through the VI Office of Highway Safety's annual observational seatbelt use survey indicates Virgin Islands motorists and their front seat passengers are failing to consistently wear seatbelts. Each year, the Office of Highway Safety hires an independent contractor to assess seatbelt usage in the territory. And take a look on your screen. When compared to the national seatbelt usage rates, which averages over 90%, the territory's rate continues to reflect a deficient safety culture. This is according to the VIPD. After a statistically significant gain of 4.3 percentage points back in 2021, 2022 survey data plummeted to a usage rate of 67%, a loss of 5.3 percentage points. What's more, a recent rear seat observational study concluded that more than 79% of children in the territory under the age of 12 are being transported unrestrained or improperly restrained. Of these results, VIPD's commissioner says this issue is more than a law enforcement issue, as a lack of seatbelt compliance translates into significant and unnecessary injuries that our healthcare system may be unable to support. Police Commissioner Ray Martinez says law enforcement will take immediate action to address this critical community concern. A St. Thomas man is facing charges in connection to a domestic assault in which his girlfriend had to receive medical treatment. 29-year-old Javier Lima is facing several assault charges. He turned himself into police on Monday. Virgin Islands police say back on November 29th around 11 p.m., Lima's girlfriend received treatment for multiple bruises and a broken wrist after the two got into a fight. Lima's in jail without bond per VI domestic violence statutes. The FBI director is doubling down on his concerns surrounding the popular social media platform TikTok, saying it poses a serious threat to U.S. national security. Here's a look at the threats the app poses to your phone and your personal data. Sounding the alarm on TikTok, the FBI's director is joining a growing chorus cautioning the social media platform is a national security threat.
The Chinese government has shown a willingness to steal Americans' data on a scale that dwarfs any other.
While speaking at the University of Michigan, FBI Director Christopher Wray said the video sharing app, which is owned by Chinese company ByteDance, is collecting data from U.S. users for spying purposes and could gain access to your device through software. He also warns the Chinese government could manipulate content on the app with its recommendation algorithm.
All of these things are in the hands of a government that doesn't share our values.
Last month, the FCC commissioner also called for a nationwide TikTok ban and earlier this year urged Apple and Google to remove it from their app stores. And last week, South Dakota's governor banned state employees from using the app on government devices. Experts recommend you think twice before downloading it on your phone.
You have a Chinese-owned app that has incredible AI. It's very, very addictive.
Political risk consultant Ian Brennan says the U.S. will likely take a more cautious approach and says he doesn't expect the U.S. government to suddenly ban TikTok nationally.
The U.S. wants to go after issues that are of direct national security concern to the United States, like advanced semiconductors used by the military-industrial complex in China.
The FBI director's latest comments come 1 month after he appeared before a House Homeland Security Committee hearing and warned that TikTok could be a serious threat to national security. A heads up for drivers on St. Thomas, a road project's underway, which will affect traffic flow. Construction crews have started on the Alton Adams Drive project. That's near the entrance of the Roy Lester Schneider Hospital. The Department of Public Works says crews have begun the milling and paving process and will be working on fixing the road all week. They're expected to be done by this Friday. During that time, eastbound traffic will be rerouted, so the public's asked to use alternative routes when possible. This $185,000 project's funded through American Rescue Plan Act funds. American Airlines will begin making daily direct flights to the British Virgin Islands from the mainland beginning this coming June. After a 16-year hiatus, the airline will start those flights on June 1st of next year. Travelers can begin making travel plans now. The direct flights will be between BVI's airport and the Miami International Airport in Florida. The BVI premier says he's happy to welcome American Airlines back to the islands. They stopped operations back in 2006. The direct flights will make it faster, easier, and more affordable for people from around the world to come to the British Virgin Islands. This deal has been years in the making and will provide not only a big boost for the island's tourism industry, but also help business travelers in the BVI to have easier access to the U.S. mainland as well. For the millions of people rocked by the impacts of inflation, a silver lining has emerged in the form of plummeting gas prices. But it's not clear, though, how long this downward trend is going to last. Sam Brock has more.
It's hard to find a single staple of the American economy that impacts our collective pocketbooks more than gas prices. Which is why when they fall, it provides a noticeable lift for families.
Big difference.
And falling, they are. The national average this morning, $3.40 a gallon. That's down about 40 cents from a month ago and more than $1.60 from a peak of $5.02 in the middle of June. 8 states are currently under $3 a gallon, part of a growing trend.
The national average could fall under $3 a gallon, even ahead of our forecast, which were for potentially that to happen by Christmas. So we continue to see gas prices fall at a very brisk pace.
Plunging oil and gas prices are being driven in large part by a deepening recession in Europe, rising interest rates in the U.S., and COVID outbreaks in China, slowing the world's second largest oil consumer. But the fragile fall in fuel prices could easily take a turn. Starting today, the European Union putting a price cap on Russian oil at $60 a barrel.
What is the net impact of the EU deciding that we will only buy Russian oil at this price point or less?
It's significant that the EU is coming together to make this fairly significant agreement and risk this potentially backfiring. Russia could simply choose to stop exporting oil. So this is kind of a high stakes game here.
At the same time, there's the arrival of cold weather, and Americans are bracing for higher heating bills, likely paying in the neighborhood of 50 to 100% more than last winter.
It was absurd, from, a $90 bill a month to like 360 some odd dollars.
The good news, it could be worse, with many utility companies locking in much of their petroleum supplies when rates were lower, and domestic resources of natural gas still robust.
Also the good news in the VI, of course, we don't have to deal with that cold weather.